Hello students, welcome to the class of Pole Science of 12 Arts, and today we will discuss some of the very important question and answers from chapter number 6, United Nations and its organizations. So after we finish discussing all these important questions and answers, please make a note down of all these questions and answers in your notebook. So let's proceed then. Starting from the very important question, that is the first question regarding this chapter is, what are the functions of Security Council? So regarding this topic we have already discussed earlier. So as you are very familiar that the Security Council's main function is to maintain peace and security in the world, and other functions are as follows. That means what? Apart from peace and security, other functions also the Security Council does, and which are as discussed below. So number 1, the Security Council recommends methods to address disputes among nations. So as you know that wherever the disputes arises, the United Nations or its agencies like the Security Council always acts as the mediator to do what? To resolve the disputes. Then number 2, Security Council can take military action if required. So the second function related to Security Council is that the Security Council can take what? It has that much of power that if required against any country or any organizations, if the Security Council wants, then it may take military actions. Then thirdly, Security Council elects the judges of the International Court of Justice and appoints the Secretary General by recommending to the General Assembly. So as we have read the topic of International Court of Justice also, we know that there are 15 judges. They are elected, and these 15 judges are from different countries. That means 15 judges from 15 different countries. That is the terms and conditions related to the appointment of judges of the International Court of Justice. Clear? So the Security Council actually elects these judges, and along with the appointment electing judges, it also appoints Secretary General by recommending to the General Assembly. That means it recommends and sends the name to where? The General Assembly, and the General Assembly then appoints. After that, Security Council can apply economic sanction also to stop any aggression. So apart from the other three functions, the fourth function is that it can apply economic sanction also to stop any aggression. That means if suppose you assume that any country which is particular country, that country you assume that country is showing aggression, or that country is not cooperating with the guidelines, or you can say the terms and conditions of the UN, then to stop that aggression and to stop their non-cooperation, if they want, they can apply what? Economic sanction. That means what? According to economic sanction, it means that they will impose penalty to that particular country if they don't stop showing aggression, and if they resolve that issue and cooperate, then this economic sanction will not be imposed. But if that particular country is showing aggression, then might be Security Council has that much of power, then it can impose penalty on that particular country. And lastly, the Security Council can investigate the disputes in case a friction arises. And apart from imposing, giving penalty, resolving, the last functions that the Security Council can do is what? It can investigate also. That means it can investigate to see the root cause of the dispute, what actually caused that disputes to happen. So in that case it can investigate also. So the next question is, this is also a very important question that comes in the board exams very frequently, year after other. So as a citizen of India, how would you support India's candidature for the permanent membership of Security Council? Justify your proposal. So regarding these questions, we have read earlier also that United Nations had given some criteria according to which if any country fulfills that 5 or 6 points of the criteria, that country can be made the permanent members. But we have also seen that after fulfilling all this eligibility also, India is not been successful to become the permanent member. And as a result, what happened in the month of June, India got the membership. That means it became non-permanent members, and that also for a period of 2 years, which is really an injustice done to our country. So regarding this question, it is written that how would you support India's candidature, means we have to compare whatever the guidelines or the eligibility criteria is there from the UN side. We have to match that with that of India, if it is fulfilling or not. So regarding this question, we have to write answer in that way only. So let us proceed then. As a citizen of India, we may support India's candidature for the permanent membership of Security Council in the following manner. So number one, India is the most populous country in the world with 1/5 of the world population. So first point, India is very much eligible, because according to UN, a country wanting to become permanent member should be a large country in terms of population. So India is fulfilling that. Second, India is world's largest democracy. So regarding second point also, India is fulfilling that in that country who wants to be the permanent member of the Security Council should follow or should promote democracy. So India is fulfilling this also. The number third, India's economic emergence on the world stage. That means in the 21st century, India is fastest growing economy along with countries like China. Then India is a regular financial contributor. It is also contributing regularly on a yearly basis. The number 5, India signifies a growing importance in the world affairs in conduct of its foreign policy. So regarding foreign policy also, it is growing in a significant way. And last but not the least, India participated in all the initiatives of the UN. So regarding this also, if the UN is making any initiatives and UN wants that the member countries should come forward and participate, so India is doing that. So in this way, we can say that India is very much there to become permanent member of the Security Council. After that, critically evaluate the difficulties involved in implementing the suggested reforms to construct the UN. That means reforms were suggested, but many question marks were there. So what are these question marks? We need to know. That means rules and regulations are there in the paper, according to which reforms are suggested from member countries, but does it really worked when it came practically? I think no, because related to this question only, the answer is given according to which we will justify that whatever the rules and regulations are there in the paper, it's not followed in a practical way. So regarding that, number one point is there, how big an economy and military power may qualify to become UNSC membership. So there is no certain boundaries related to economic or military, because a country do not know that how much that particular country should be economically also strong and militarily strong to qualify for the membership of the United Nations Security Council. That is not clear. After that, what level of budget contribution should be enabled? We know that India is contributing, but it is not made clear by the United Nations about up to what level the country should contribute, so that that particular country can be included in the permanent membership or the membership of the United Nations Security Council. After that, no guarantee to be effective as council member in respect for democracy and human rights. So regarding democracy and human rights also, those countries which are following this, so after following this also, there is no guarantee and no effectiveness is there that if a country is following democracy and human rights, that particular country will be promoted. That is not the case. The number 4, why should the issue of equitable representation decided by geography? Why not by levels of economic development? This is a very important point, because the fact according to the eligibility, it was written that a country should be economically developed or developing. So when it comes to actually include, then what is being seen? That means by ignoring the economic development, the geographical location is seen. That means they are including countries according to the geographical area, which is totally unjust. After that, last point is that why not to give more seats to the members of developing world. And one more proposal was there, that more and more seats should be given to not the developed countries but to the developing countries, so that if the developing countries come, then what will happen? It will actually have a equal sharing, or they can have a say about their problems in a world platform like the UNSC. So these are all points which actually, by which we can critically evaluate the difficulties. Actually, these are the difficulties related to the reforms, suggested reforms by the UN. After that, one more question is there. Though the UN has failed in preventing wars and related miseries, nations prefer its continuation. What makes the UN an indispensable organization? That means what? Like the League of Nations, as it was unsuccessful in stopping war, after that the UN succeeded. But during the time of UN also, till date, some wars have happened which the United Nations was not successful stopping. But then also, what is the reason that every country or every member nations wants that UN should be there? So number one is that interdependence and globalization is not possible without the international organizations such as UN. So if we talk about interdependence, cooperation, if we talk about globalization, then if we want globalization and interdependence, then if UN is there, then only it will be possible. So for that reason also, every country wants UN. After that, to enforce cooperation on the issues of poverty, unemployment, environmental degradation, crime rate, etc. And the second most important point is that if we want together that problems like poverty, unemployment, environmental degradation and crime rate should be decreased, then we should do it in a cooperative way. And every country, if UN is there, then what will happen? The UN, whatever the member countries are there, they will abide by the UN Charter, so that they will all together cooperate with each other to fight these problems. After that, to provide financial assistance to developing countries to stabilize economy all over the world, the UN and its specialized agencies are always required. So in order to help also to or to give fund to the developing countries, the UN and whatever the specialized agencies and bodies that we have read, these are very much required in order to help these developing countries through financially. After that, the UN works as a forum to solve any international dispute among nations and sort out the best possible way. And number 4 point is very important regarding that. If UN is there, then only there is much possibility that a war-like situation can also be handled properly and can be discussed and can be resolved through peaceful talks. The UN has made that happen many times. So for that also UN is required. And number 5, hence, though the UN has failed in preventing war and miseries, despite the nation require its continuation due to the above mentioned reasons. So whatever the 4 points we have discussed, we are pretty much sure that the United Nations is very much required in this 21st century. After that, one more question is there. Reforming the UN means restructuring the Security Council. Do you agree with this statement? Give arguments for or against this position. So you can see in the question that some questions are like this also. That means if you say yes, then also you have to defend your answer. If you say no, then also you have to defend your answer. And while defending your answer, you have to give eligible points, and according to that only, if your points are very much eligible, so you can get marks. suppose you are favoring that or you are against that, if your points are eligible while writing the answer, you will be awarded full marks. So this type of questions also comes, so please go through it properly and understand that how should the answer be written actually if this type of question comes in the board exam. So regarding that, the above question, according to the answer, that means we are favoring this. So it is written that yes, we agree with the statement because Security Council plays a crucial role in the functioning of UN. That means the question was asked that if the reformation of UN is done, then what will happen? Of course, the Security Council will also be restructured. So we agree with that. And what is the reason? That means Security Council, because it plays a crucial role in functioning of the UN. In today's scenario, power equations have changed with the disintegration of USSR and many new countries are entering into the UN. That means after 1991, when USSR got disintegrated, after that many countries came, and Security Council actually is the backbone. So many of the functions related to the UN are supported by the Security Council actually. So regarding this answer, the UN Charter has given a privileged position to permanent members to bring stability all over the world. The position remains the same and no one is allowed to enter. Clear? Regarding permanent members, there are 5 in numbers. So the first point is being discussed about that only. Number 2, accept permanent members enjoy veto power to be placed in a valuable position. So we know that if permanent members are 5, so the first and very important thing that these permanent members enjoy is the veto power, which is a very valuable vote of each country, of these 5 countries. After that, permanent members category is from industrialized developed country, which should be balanced by enhancing representation from developing countries to become either permanent or non-permanent members. So whatever the representation is given or whatever the countries are included, that is wholly and solely depending on what? The wishes of the permanent members in the Security Council. So you can see here that how much impact does the UN Security Council have, or you can say the permanent members of UN Security Council have. And last but not the least, it's written that hence Security Council should reform and improve its working to make the UN more effective. That is, inclusion of member states should be judged on the basis of contribution to peacekeeping initiative. So lastly, in the concluding part, it is written that yes, Security Council should also be reformed. And what is the suggestion or the solution given to be so that the UN Security Council also becomes more effective? That means if more and more member countries should be judged on the basis of contribution to peacekeeping. That means support those countries, maybe it can be developed also and developing countries also, but judged on the basis of whatever the peace initiatives they are doing. That means all over the world, if suppose 2 or 3 countries are working too much on peace related issues and they are doing so much through discussions and peace talks, so that those countries should also be always be promoted. After that, discuss the resolution adopted by the General Assembly in 1992 over the reform of UN Security Council. So we read that whatever the resolution was passed, it reflected 3 main complaints, if you remember. Sorry. Number 1 was the UN Security Council no longer represents contemporary political realities. Clear? The number 2 was its decision reflect only Western values and interests, and we are dominated by few powers. Please ignore this 7, it was a printing mistake. So first was what? It only represents some part of contemporary political realities, not as a whole reality they are not representing, they are only showing a bit, a part. And number 2 was that whatever the things are there, it only reflects what? Their Western values and interest, that are actually dominated by what? Either by the permanent members or by the General Assembly, you can tell. The number 3 was what? It lacks equitable representation, as we have learned, as we have read previously also, that whatever the equal representation should be done by the peacekeeping initiatives of the country, by the growing economy of the country, but these are done not through that two important things, but this is done through what? Equitable representation is done through its geographical location. So for the restructuring of UN, on 1st January 1997, the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan initiated an inquiry into how the UN should be reformed. So he also he started an inquiry, and based on that inquiry he wanted to know that how UN should be reformed. And regarding the last very important question of this chapter is, why is veto power called a negative vote? That means, as we have discussed earlier about this, that veto power is actually a negative vote. That means, I have told you earlier that the permanent members of Security Council, that means 5 are in number, has the veto power, and non-permanent members does not have it. We know that. If any decision has to be taken and if any one of the permanent members gives a negative vote, that means if out of 5, 4 are saying yes, that means supporting, and one country is saying no, that means that thing will be cancelled, or that support will be cancelled. So that's for that reason also it is called a negative vote. And the rest of the permanent member and non-permanent members are in favor of the decision. Then also the decision will still get stalled for one negative vote from the permanent member, and hence the veto power is called a negative vote. Understood? So that means if 4 permanent members have given yes and other 193 non-permanent members have given yes, so you just now add that 193 plus 4 permanent members become 197, and at the very moment if one of the permanent members out of 5 gives a negative vote, that means veto, if that particular permanent countries say no, that means that 197 countries supporting that particular thing will get dissolved. So for that also the veto power of this 5 permanent member is very important. Clear? So with this I will wind up today's discussions based on question and answer. That means very important questions and answers related to chapter number 6, where we had read about the functions of Security Council. After that, India's candidature for the permanent seats in UN Security Council. Then we have evaluated the difficulties, whatever according to the subject suggested reforms were there. After the reforms were suggested, then also some difficulties were there, so we have discussed about that also. After that, we have read one more important question that as UN has failed in many situations, but then also many countries want UN should be there. What was the reason? So we have got that answer also. And one more important question was there, that as I have told you earlier, that this type of questions might come in your board exam, where you will be asked to give your opinion. Clear? So if you are giving yes, that means if you are answering in favor, you must support your answer by giving eligible statements, and if you are against the question, you can say no, and for that no also you have to give eligible points. Clear? So regarding this we have read and discussed about that reforming the UN means restructuring of the Security Council. And the second last question was related to the resolution. What were the resolution actually adopted by the General Assembly in 1992? There were 3 points, and we discussed it in the previous topic also, that UN Security Council only represents some political realities, not whole. Then secondly, it only reflects the Western values and interests dominated by the permanent members of the Security Council. Then lastly, it does not favor equitable or equal representation. And lastly, we read about a very important question, that why is veto power? All of us know about what is veto power, but many of us may not know why is veto power called a negative power vote actually. Clear? So we have discussed on that point also. So I hope that whatever the questions and answers I have discussed with you today, it is now clear to you. So with this, I will wind up today's topic. Thank you.